Hello there, welcome back to our tutorial series on YouTube, proudly sponsored by the O3 Schools JAMB app. And if you are yet to download your app, you know you were wrong. Hurry now, download your app on Play Store and get access to all the features that the app has to offer. So today our topic is Gideon as a leader. We have been on the leadership series for quite a while now, and today we want to study Gideon, the leadership qualities of Gideon, how Gideon was a leader, and the qualities that he possessed as a leader. Now, leadership of Gideon is recorded in Judges chapter 6 to 8. The book of Judges chapter 6 to 8 contains the biblical account of Gideon's leadership. The children of Israel sinned against God again, and God let the Midianites oppress them. God let the Midianites oppress them for 7 years. When they cried out to God, God then raised Gideon to deliver them. So first off, we look at Gideon's background. Gideon's background. Gideon was the son of Joash. From Manasseh. Gideon was the son of Joash from Manasseh. He was from the tribe of Manasseh. One day, an angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon and told him that God was with him. So Gideon asked how God was with them, and they were oppressed because the Midianites oppressed. The Israelites were under the oppression of the Midianites at that time, and the Midianites had oppressed them for 7 years, destroying their crops, destroying their animals, leaving the Israelites impoverished. And the angel of the Lord told Gideon that God was sending Gideon to save the Israelites. Gideon then complained that he was from the weakest clan in Manasseh, and not only that, he was also the least in his father's house. And God assured him, the angel of the Lord assured him that God would be with him. Gideon then asked how he would be sure it was God speaking to him. So he offered a sacrifice of a young goat and unleavened bread, and God consumed the sacrifice. So Gideon was sure that it was God that had spoken to him, and he named the place "The Lord is Peace." He built an altar to God there, worshipped God, and named the place "The Lord is Peace." So we look at how Gideon defeated the Midianites. Before God sent Gideon into battle to defeat the Midianites, God asked Gideon to destroy his father's altar of Baal. He was to destroy his father's altar of Baal, and the wooden image there, he would use it to offer a sacrifice to God, a sacrifice of a bull. So God told him to destroy his father's altar of Baal and instead erect, an altar to God, and use the wooden image in the father's altar of Baal to offer offerings of a bull to God. Gideon was scared of the men of his tribe, so he did it at night. When the men woke up the next morning and saw what Gideon had done, they sought to kill him. But the father said Baal was a god and he should fight for himself. So they named Gideon Jerubbaal. They called Gideon Jerubbaal. Which means, let Baal plead against him. So they didn't kill Gideon anymore. They left it to Baal. So they they changed his name to Jerubbaal, which meant let Baal plead against him. Gideon then sent messages to people of Abiezer, people of Manasseh, where he was from, people of Asher, Zebulun, Naphtali, that they should come together to attack the Midianites. And they came. So Gideon now asked God again for another sign that God was with him. So he put a fleece of wool outside and said, let there be dew on that fleece of wool while the ground will be dry. And exactly as he asked God, that was how God did it. And he asked again, this time, let the ground be dry and let the wool be wet. So the first time he asked that the wool be wet and the ground be dry. God did it that way. Second time he asked that the ground be wet and the fleece of wool be dry. And God did it like that. So he was sure that God was with him. So the armies he had gotten from these people, he gathered them and moved. But God told him that the men were too much. Because if they had gone like that, the people of Israel would have thought that the battle was won by their own strength. So God told him to reduce the number of armies with him. And he announced that if anyone was scared, they could leave. 22,000 men left. After Gideon asked that anybody scared should leave, leaving 10,000 men, remaining 10,000. And God said even this 10,000 was still too much. So Gideon led the men to the water. And God said, based on how they would drink this water, he would select those that would go with Gideon to attack the Midianites. And God said those that would kneel down to drink the water would not go, while only those that lapped. And the people that did not kneel down were just 300. Only 300 men did not kneel down to drink the water. And God told Gideon to tell the rest to go, that he would go with these 300 men to the camp of Midian, that he would deliver the Midianites to Gideon with just these 300 men. And if Gideon was scared, he should go to the camp of the Midianites with his assistant. So when Gideon got there, someone was telling a dream he had, where a loaf of bread fell into the camp of the Midianites and it fell on a tent and the tent collapsed. Someone interpreted that meant God of Israel had handed the Midianites over to Gideon. So Gideon worshipped God because this reinforced his faith that God really wanted to deliver the Midianites into his hand. So he worshipped God and he went back, strategized with the 300 men that God had ordered him to attack the Midianites with, and he attacked them. God delivered the Midianites into Gideon's hand with just 300 men. And when the children of Israel saw that Gideon had defeated the Midianites, they asked him to rule over them. And Gideon said, no, it is the Lord that will rule over you. That was how Gideon was able to defeat the Midianites. Now let's examine the leadership qualities of Gideon. First, we have obedience. Gideon was scared when God asked him to pull down his father's altar of Baal, but he still obeyed. Even though he did it at night, he obeyed. When he gathered an army of, thousands of men, knowing what he was up against, knowing the number of the Midianites and how strong they were, he gathered an army of thousands, but God told him that the army was too much. He should cut it down. He cut it down to 10,000, and God still reduced them to 300. Still, Gideon obeyed. He went with 300 men. So Gideon was obedient to God. 2, we have courage. Knowing the number of Midianites Gideon had to face, yet he still went into battle with 300 men, all in obedience to God. That speaks of Gideon's courage. Gideon was courageous. He was also loyal and humble. loyalty, and humility. Gideon remembered that it was God that delivered the Midianites into his hands. He didn't become proud. And when the children of Israel asked him to rule them, he didn't become proud and was like, yes, I am your leader. I have just delivered you from oppression. The Midianites have been oppressing the Israelites for 7 years. So he didn't just, become proud and become the leader of Israel. He still told them that it was God that would rule over them, because it was God that gave them the victory over the Midianites. Then we also see faith. Gideon had faith in God. All God asked him to do, he did. And even before then, before he carried out his actions, he asked God for signs that God was with him. So he had faith that God would deliver him, that anything God asked him to do, he did it, knowing fully well that God was with him. So he believed in God. Before carrying out any of his actions, he asked for signs from God before doing anything. So Gideon was obedient, he was courageous, loyal, humble, and he also had faith in God. That's it for Gideon as a leader. Then we'll head over to the O3 Schools JAMB app. By the way, if you do not have your app yet, you are wrong. Do well to download the O3 Schools JAMB app and start practicing your way to success. So we search for questions on Gideon as a leader. This is a question from 2022. After he destroyed his family's altar of Baal, Dash was called Jerubbaal. A. Elijah. B. Moses. C. Abraham. D. Gideon. Gideon. God asked him to destroy his father's altar of Baal, and when he did, the men of his clan wanted to kill him, but his father spoke for him, saying they shouldn't fight for Baal, Baal should fight for himself, which was how Gideon came to be called Jerubbaal. So the answer is D. Gideon. Another question from 2003 says, the last event that boosted Gideon's courage to go against the Midianites was the A. appearance of the angel who called him a man of valor. B. sign in which God caused the dew to be on the fleece. C. test God gave Gideon's men at the waterside. D. dream told by the Midianites about the barley bread. That would be D. The dream told by the Midianites about the barley bread. Of course, when he asked God for a sign with the fleece of wool, he believed. But when God now cut down the number of his army to 300, I guess Gideon got scared again, and God told him to go to the camp of the Midianites. When he heard the dream and the interpretation there, his courage was reignited. So the last event that boosted Gideon's courage was the dream told by the Midianites about the barley bread. Another question from 2007 goes thus: what did Gideon do when he heard the dream of the Midianites and its interpretation? A. he hid himself. B. he became discouraged. C. he kissed his servant. D. he worshipped the Lord. Gideon worshipped the Lord when he heard the dream and the interpretation, knowing fully well that God was truly with him. God was going to lead him into the battle, and God was going to make him victorious. So he worshipped the Lord. Another question from 2023 says, the story of Gideon showcases leadership qualities like humility and reliance on divine guidance during A. the Babylonian exile. B. the conquest of Canaan. C. the reign of David. D. the period of Judges. So the story of Gideon showcases leadership qualities like humility and reliance on divine guidance during the period of Judges. So after the death of Joshua, God raised judges that would rule over the people of Israel and deliver them from the hands of those that attacked them. So our answer here becomes D, the period of Judges. Even the story of Gideon's leadership was recorded in the book of Judges. So this happened during the period of Judges. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to download your O3 Schools JAMB app and activate it so you can get access to every available feature on the app. Also, like this video, comment your questions down below, and subscribe to the channel.